Hey Groupers, Pastor Marshall here. Wow, we made it to John chapter 21. 40 weeks we have been in the Gospel of John. Maybe you're excited that it's over. Maybe it's a little bittersweet. It's been a good study. I know that I've enjoyed spending the time in this Gospel, and I hope that you've enjoyed listening to these messages and learning more and more about John's story. Well, today, just to get the ball rolling, let's talk amongst ourselves. Has there been something in your life that you loved very, very much, but you gave it up because you started loving something else even more? I shared with you about my motorcycle and Claudia's story. And then, as you're thinking about answering that question, I want there to be a follow-up question. What is something that you have given up for Jesus? What is something that, as you grew more in love with Jesus, that you gave up for him? Don't let that be your first answer. Let the first answer be a little bit more of a softball pitch, and then the second answer, that's a little bit more of a fastball. What's something that you have given up for Jesus? Well, what do you make of Peter and the others going fishing? What do you think that their motivation was? A lot of debate about why they did what they did. What do you think their motivation was? And then, how did John recognize the man on the shore as Jesus? What caused John to have this epiphany? What caused him to have this great understanding? And then, how did Peter react to John's news? And what do you think why do you think that Peter did what he did? What do you think of what Peter did? Why did he do what he did? We stand John and Peter up next to each other. It's just our nature. And John seems to be a thinker. He processes stuff. And Peter seems to be a man of quick actions. Maybe we might say that he acts before he thinks things through. I wonder, which of these two do you identify more with? Are you a slow processor, maybe not even ever getting to action? Or are you a person that is quick to action, maybe before thinking things through? And why is having both types of people important for the church? Why is it helpful for us to have both types of people in the church, both a Peter and a John? Well, Peter gets to shore and Jesus meets his needs with breakfast. How did Jesus meet his needs before talking to him about this serious subject? Why did Jesus meet Peter's needs before talking to him about this serious subject? That's my question. And then, how is this, or do you think this is an essential model for us? Is this an important model for us to follow? What would that look like in real life, in everyday stories? And then, why did Jesus ask Peter the same question about loving him 3 times? Before you answer that question, I want you to turn back to Matthew chapter 26 and read verses 31, 32, and 33. So after you read Matthew 26, 31 through 33, then I want you to answer the question, why did Jesus ask Peter the same question 3 times about loving him? And then after you've answered that, in verse 15, Jesus says, do you truly love me more than these? And I shared with you that I think that's a great definition of discipleship. That means it's a great definition of what it looks like to follow Jesus. That's what discipleship is, what it looks like to follow Jesus. And maybe this is the very best definition of discipleship, that we follow Jesus more than we follow anything else because we love him more than we love anything else. My question is, when we sin, we are really loving something or someone or ourselves more than we're loving Jesus. Why is Jesus' restoration of Peter so important in this context? I hope you followed that train of thought. Well, what ministry did Jesus assign Peter to do? At the end of this story, Jesus talks about Peter's ultimate demise. What is going to happen to Peter? And then Peter asks a question about John. What is going to happen to John in the end? Well, every week we just remind ourselves of our application, and so this is our last chance to do that in the Gospel of John. We're wanting to love Jesus more. The problem is that temptations come and they get in the way, or good things come and they get in the way, or our own pride comes and it gets in the way. And so, how this week have you been working on loving Jesus more than something that you've been tripping up at, or in someone or something that you love that's actually good, or yourself? How have you been working to love Jesus more than yourself this week? I do hope that you have a great Bible study, and I look forward to seeing you next week as we start a new topical series on putting ourselves on the financial freeway to freedom. God bless.